I bought this crashed BMW M5 Competition. And that's because the M5 Competition has been one of my dream cars since the first time I saw it. But realistically, I can't afford to own one. At least, that's what I thought until I found this. A 2019 M5 Competition for just $27,000, which is less than half of what they normally sell for. And at first, I actually thought it was a pretty good deal. But as we've started to tear it down and do more research, it's not looking so great. And to top it all off, last week we spoke to the previous owner on the phone, and he gave us some bad news. It has some pretty serious engine damage, which is not something that we were expecting. We obviously know that we need to fix the structure of this car because of the accident. What we didn't know is that we now need to fix the motor, and that means it has to come out of the car. So fun. Me and Will have never dropped an M5 engine out of a car before. Frankly, we've actually never dropped any engine out of a car before. So today, we learn the hard way by just doing it and figuring out how it works. How we usually do things. So, as per usual, I wish I could just keep talking, but we gotta start doing something. Luckily, I've done some prior research, so I think we need to start by lifting the car up and disconnecting the drive shaft. After that, I have no idea what to do. The first step to removing the drive shaft is to first remove all the plastic under trays and crossbars that are in the way. One of my biggest fears when taking this car apart is losing all the screws that hold everything together. And for these under trays, there's about 100 little screws. With all that out of the way, we now have to remove the exhaust, which is also blocking our access to the drive shaft. Thankfully, this M5 is really clean underneath, unlike some of the old cars I'm used to working on. The exhaust bolts are coming off super easily, and with a bit of hammer-induced persuasion, the exhaust is coming off. The exhaust is now off, which means we can start to get all of the heat shields out and reveal the drive shaft. All of this for step one of removing the engine. We're doing great. The trick is to remember where all this goes later down the line. It's easy to take stuff apart. It's much harder to put it together. So make sure you subscribe to the channel to stay along for the ride. Now let's get this heat shield out.
We're so close.
There we go. As you guys know, there is damage to this engine. It was making over 800 horsepower, and we want to make that horsepower reliably, which is why we're going to protect the motor by sleeving it. Protection is important, whether it's for your vehicle or for yourself, and the internet is a dangerous place. And I know you're on the internet because you're watching this video, which means you should have Aura. Luckily for you, Aura is the sponsor of today's video. If I Google search myself right now, there are a ton of results, which is kind of creepy. Spammers, scammers, and pretty much everyone else on the web has access to that data. So your full name, your health records, your relatives, and your home address is all out there on the web. That's why I've been using Aura. Aura shows me all the data brokers that are selling my information and automatically submits opt-out requests for me. It's super easy to install and acts as an all-in-one app, so you don't need to individually download an antivirus software, VPN, or password manager. Now you may have some of these tools already, but not having Aura is like leaving your car doors locked, but your windows down. I value my privacy and I value yours. So go to aura.com and start your free trial. Also linked down in the description. Thanks to Aura for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back into removing the engine from this M5. This is called a Guibo or a flex disc, but Guibo is way more fun. And this is what allows the drive shaft to safely send power to the wheels, because if you just had the drive shaft connected directly without this disc here that's rubber, it would definitely do some damage because the change of power really can force a ton of torque onto these metal bits. So this just allows for a little bit of flex in the system. But that's where we actually need to undo it from. And then we can drop this drive shaft and that will free up the engine and transmission up front. The bolt on the bottom of the drive shaft is super easy to access, and with a wrench on one side and an impact on the other, it comes out without any issue. Accessing the other bolts, though, is quickly proving to be a big problem. Normally, you just put the car in neutral and spin the drive shaft to access the other bolts. For us, though, that isn't possible. Because the car was in an accident, the pyro fuse went off. This completely cuts power to the car, and unfortunately for us, we have an electronic handbrake which is stuck engaged, which is why we had to drag the car off the trailer when it got delivered, and have been moving it around on dollies. This means we can't spin the wheels or the drive shaft without getting power to the car, so we need to figure out how to do that now. The pyro fuse itself isn't too difficult to remove. It's in the trunk right next to the battery, and with a few clips and bolts, it comes right out. That doesn't solve our issue though. BMW won't just sell you a new pyro fuse. You have to buy the entire fuse box assembly, which is super expensive. You can buy a pyro fuse online, which I already did, but it hasn't come in yet, and we need a solution right now. Luckily, I think we have a solution. While we wait for the actual part, we're gonna just put this in there. This is a fuse we got from just an auto parts store. Should work just to get the handbrake off, and then we can keep moving forward with this engine removal. So let's chuck this bad boy in. Should only take a second. I'm gonna let Will handle this. It's pretty hard to film in there, so we'll come back to you with the results if it doesn't explode.
A few moments later.
All right, Will has successfully attached the fuse.
Something's in there.
Something is attached. He thinks it's a little hard to work in there. You can't see what you're doing so much. But now we're gonna see if we attach a jump pack, if we either blow that fuse, blow every electronic inside this M5, or get power to the car and can turn the handbrake off. One of those three things will happen. I can guarantee that.
Step 1, safety goggles. Step 2, possible explosion.
Wow, they really...
Yeah, it might explode.
That's promising.
Yeah, see, look, now there's power in the car. Hey! Did it come unplugged?
Nope. It became unplugged.
Okay, yeah, it came unplugged. That was a little scary. Wow.
Handbrake's off.
Handbrake's off. Wow, stuff like this never seems...
Are you sure?
Yeah. It's in park now.
Oh, okay.
Go in neutral.
You probably can't.
Might be able to.
You have to do it manually.
Check this out. Wow.
Some dark windows, huh?
The window works. We can leave that down probably for a little while.
Dude, it's a car right now.
It's carring.
Sorry,
We can't turn the motor on because that. There's not, I don't know if there's even oil in that thing. I don't think there is. There's certainly no coolant. So yeah, we're not gonna start the motor right now. We're just getting this good. So we can't get into neutral?
No.
Didn't we have it in neutral?
Yeah, I can pop it back in neutral from the bottom.
Okay, so we should be good. With the handbrake disabled, we can pull the neutral release pin and spin the drive shaft freely to access the other bolts. With them out, we should hopefully be able to pull it free. The last step in dropping the drive shaft is just the support here, which is 313. I should probably twist it by hand first. Don't fall. It just might be a little stuck. We just need to pry it.
I feel like we're missing something.
Oh, there too. It could go like a couple inches in which case we can just drop the other component. It feels like it has a couple inches inside.
Just like me for you.
So we could probably just drop the
whole Weebo?
Yeah.
Can I pull it up? There you go. Look at that.
Well, that's step one of dropping the engine complete. It only took a day. That's good. We're gonna be getting this engine out within a year, probably. With the drive shaft out, the easy part is over. And now we dive into what truly is the unknown for me and Will. We have never tried anything like this before and really have no experience when it comes to working on something as complex as this. With modern cars, removing the engine isn't just a couple of bolts. The M5 has literally hundreds of plugs, cables, hoses, and connectors that we have to not only remove, but also remember where they go for when we eventually reinstall the motor. We're starting on the underside and unplugging everything we see before we go up on top, which is where the bulk of the engine is accessible from. First step to doing our next step, that's confusing, is we're just gonna take this fender liner out. It's gonna make our lives a whole lot easier. And we'll put it back in later. And I just have to undo a few more of these 8.
Oh, yeah.
Nice. With that out of the way, we just need to disconnect the ABS sensor, disconnect the brake pad wear sensor, and disconnect the headlight leveling sensor so when we drop the entire front subframe, we don't pull all those cords out. With all the sensors unplugged from the brakes and wheel hubs, we only have one thing left to disconnect from the wheel wells, the brakes themselves. Because we're dropping the engine out with the entire subframe attached, that means all of the suspension components, the wheel hubs, and the brakes come with it. Some people just disconnect the brake lines from the brake calipers and then have to refill and remove the air from the brake lines, which isn't too difficult, but to make it even easier for ourselves, we're just going to remove the brake calipers from the hubs entirely, which are held on by just a couple of bolts. With those off, we're calling it a day and coming back tomorrow to start disconnecting everything else from the engine. We need to get all of the stuff that's attached to the body of the car that might not come out with the engine off the engine. We just don't know what that is. So we do know that there is an engine strap point right here, and there should be one under this tank. So we're gonna get that tank out first. And that is pretty easy, allegedly. All right, that comes out. This comes out. Yeah. What you just saw basically sums up what the entirety of our day is going to look like. Like I said, these engines are pretty complicated, so there's a lot of stuff for us to detach. We have to remove wiring harnesses, coolant hoses, our oil cooler, and even some low and high pressure fuel lines, which didn't go as planned. Ooh. Is that fuel?
Yeah.
Oh geez, we're leaking fuel, everybody. That can't be good. Oh, Will died. Are you good, Will? You okay? Let me go check on him real quick. We're not leaking any more fuel, so the safety of that is in check.
Quite fine, right?
Gas in your eye?
Yeah.
Yeah, I won't kill you. Keep rinsing your eye, just flush your eye out. I can advise that that's the safest approach. Does it feel like anything weird is going on?
Not really.
Safety first. When you get fuel in your eye, make sure to flush the eye out. Which eye is it?
I think I'm good.
What the? Just squirt it.
It's probably alright, right?
Yeah, you look like you're totally fine, man.
I can see.
Is it blurry?
Nah.
Alright, cool. I think you probably flushed it out. The good thing with gasoline is it evaporates really fast.
This is very true.
So if there was a sheen of it on his eye, it would probably into the ether.
You would just like surprise me.
Ready? I can't say that. That's not surprising.
That was surprising.
Okay? Alright, good. Woo! Alright, we're alive. No one got harmed. I won't get sued today. We're getting closer and closer to being able to actually drop out the engine. We have a few tools to assemble first, though. We made a quick trip to the store and picked up a hydraulic table jack, which will help us lower the engine from the bottom, and we also bought a shop crane so we can stabilize the engine from the top. With these two builds, we can finally get started on what might be the scariest thing I've ever done: dropping the engine out of the M5.
The next day.
Armed with a good night's sleep and some fresh eyes, we're finally ready to remove the engine. We noticed a few more things we need to remove before we can drop it out of the car, though.
It should be Christmas.
I'm trying to stop it from leaking out. Oh my god. Oh, nice, bro.
Oh, yeah, look cool down.
Just tip it up. With those out of the way, we can lower the car down, position the subframe on the table jack, and then start to unbolt the subframe from the bottom. With that done, we only have a couple more bolts left to remove. This is the scariest thing I've done so far. I'm scared. I hope we did all the right safety precautions to not hurt ourselves.
I don't think we did.
Theoretically, the last thing holding this on, besides potentially some wires we missed or hoses we missed, are the top hat bolts. And now, I'm gonna undo them. And the engine should hopefully come out of this car without breaking anything or hurting Will and I. That's the goal.
Slowly lower the engine.
Okay, I'm ready.
Ready?
Yeah.
Lower. Twist that a little bit. Holy, it's still held on by some things.
Okay.
We got these wires here.
Where?
These wires. For the power steering, I think. How the do we unplug those?
Not everything goes to plan, and unfortunately, it appears we missed a few wires that go to the power steering. The clip is pushed directly up to the table jack, so there aren't any easy ways to remove it. But with a bit of patience and a pick, we can finally get the clip off, remove the wires, and then start to drop the engine down on the table jack before also lifting the car off of the engine.
Let's do it.
Alright, I'm terrified. One thing was holding it up. We now again believe that we have everything, but you never truly know.
Well, should I just jack the car up?
Are we don't down all the way on this jack though? We should go down first all the way.
Yeah, go down a little bit.
Yeah. All the way down? Alright, now you're all the way down.
What will I be on? Why is it going up on this side?
It's too uneven on the bottom of the engine where it can't balance.
I cannot see
What is it stuck on?
I don't know. Jack up the table jack. Jack up the table jack.
Because the table jack is pretty narrow, we have to be super careful that the engine is perfectly centered so it doesn't tip over once it's freed from the car. Unfortunately, it appears that every time we lower the engine or lift the car, it's tilting pretty aggressively to the driver's side. It's really hard to see what it's getting caught on, and even with some cleverly placed jacks, it still wants to tip. Upon further examination, it looks like it might still be slightly connected to the car by a random little metal bar that only exists on one side. Are we sure this is being held up?
Yes.
Do you
It's
want
on
me
the
to-
table
do you
jack.
want
I'm
me to lift
100%
this
sure it's on the table jack. It's not going anywhere. Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Well, now the engine's gonna come out.
Well, we bent the thing.
Whatever. That
Luckily,
thing,
it'll be really easy to get out now. With that removed and a few other lines that seemed like they were catching, hopefully we can safely get the engine out without doing any damage or tipping it over.
This would flip and it was gonna flip.
yeah, it's totally fine. Holy crap, dude! I think we got the engine out of the car.
We only broke maybe 3 things.
Yeah! Yeah! Oh my God!
Yes! Look at this thing.
Who puts this on one side, bro?
It's not on the other side, but it's on this side. How was I supposed to know that existed?
Yeah, who would have thought? But
We were holding the entire motor weight up with this, and it may have sustained some minor.
oh, don't worry,
bending.
4R. Let's get a part number on it so we can order a new one.
Great, we'll do that right now. But the motor is out of the car. It's huge.
Yeah, this thing is enormous.
This is a gigantic. I mean, granted, it's the entire front subframe transmission and motor, so no wonder. What'd we break?
We sheared the motor.
Doing what? Oh, well, it's just a new motor now. Or that was already sheared.
It could have been.
Because I don't know if what we did would have done that.
Maybe we would have heard that maybe too. but-
Yeah.
Wow.
I think that was sheared.
That's crazy.
Luckily,
Well,
the thing that is the motor mount, it should be up in here.
Well, no, I'm just worried about the subframe being in a random spot now. Because it's not where it's supposed to be. I really don't even think we did that though.
No, we didn't. Full threads, that's crazy.
That was perfect for that.
Well, that's the other half of our engine mount. This couldn't have been us.
Well,
But luckily, it didn't destroy the place where it actually mounts. It's just we need a new rubber to metal engine mount section, not part of the block.
oh, you know what? That motor mount probably snapped.
It
in
broke from the
accident.
accident.
Yeah.
That wasn't us. That's definitely what happened. Is it broke from the accident? There's
Yeah.
no-
And if it was us,
it broke from the accident.
Yeah. Who's to say, really?
Yeah. Well, that makes perfect sense. Now, to some more experienced mechanics, what we just did might not seem super impressive. But less than a year ago, we were making short videos about car news in my bedroom. I've always dreamed about building cool cars for myself, and in this past year, this channel has started to allow me and Will to do just that. Today, we took on something that we had never thought about trying. And although it didn't go perfectly, we did it, and we learned so much. This project is pushing me out of my comfort zone far further than I ever thought I'd be. and also has been one of the most fun things I've ever done. Make sure you guys subscribe because we are just getting started, and the projects are gonna get even cooler from here. You won't wanna miss it.